There are smart people everywhere. I don't have to go to Silicon Valley to build a multi-million-dollar business. And you don't have to leave Boone, North Carolina. What you got to do is have an idea that is worth being in the marketplace. Thank you guys for having me. I'm humbled and honored to have the opportunity to share with you guys for a little bit, and hopefully we'll have a little fun. And you always learn by sharing and teaching and giving, right? Because if you meet any level of success, one of the things that you are very, very quick to realize is that many, many people helped you along the way, whether it is a book you read, whether it's a mentor that stayed extra to spend time with you, or whether it is somebody who gave you an opportunity in a job or what have you, so that you could pursue your personal development and be better. So I'll run through some slides, but really I'm just going to share and chat with you. We'll leave some time for questions because I think the most important thing that I can do in terms of giving to you all is address any specific questions that you guys have as future leaders and entrepreneurs, and that's really exciting. The title befits my story. A lot of times when you're looking at starting something new, you're starting a business, starting a career, there are certain blueprints that are available to you, but the one thing that nobody can do for you is create the courage required to break through the barriers and overcome the setbacks. That is a personal choice and a personal decision. And I think everyone that has done something new or different in your own way will realize that choice. And it's how do you operate in that moment of discomfort? How do you operate in that moment of despair when all the things that you're working on don't seem to be working quite right is really what separates the winners from those that haven't learned to win just yet. So I'll jump right in and talk a little bit about my background. My background in sales, my background in entrepreneur endeavors really started very young. I think it was about 5th grade, and my product was Jolly Ranchers. And I got a business going up to making probably $40, $50, $60 a week, which is a 10-year-old was pretty significant. And then I learned about how the government doesn't always see your business as a successful influence in an elementary school. And so I had to spend quite a bit of time in the principal's office to protect my dream and vision, which at the time he did not share. So, you learn through a lot of obstacles. But anyway, the one of the things that I did learn growing up as the son of a football coach, having played some athletics myself over the years, and a lot of times when I talk about my athletic background, and I'll do this very briefly because that's all the time it requires, is people say, Don, did you play football at East Carolina University? I said, no, I had a scholarship and I was great at practice, right? And so I was a practice team All-American. And anybody that practiced with me will attest to how good I was. But a lot of things that you can learn in athletics and in life really have to do with a couple of very key characteristics. And very sincerely, it's about how do you learn how to win, right? Winning is a learned characteristic just like anything else. One of the big things in doing that is who do you associate with, who do you spend time with? And that's one of the things that I had to really get comfortable with, that you learn by association, right? If you think about those of us that have kids or those of us that plan to have kids, you want your kids to hang around other children that are doing things in a positive manner, right? And why is that? Because we're all susceptible to peer pressure. It's just what type of peer pressure you're going to let be a part of your life. If you're around A students, then you're going to spend more time in the library. You're going to spend more time studying. If you're around kids that cut class, guess what? That's what you're going to gravitate towards. So who you spend time with as an entrepreneur is very, very important, because those people that are predetermined to work for the next 20, 30 years and retire in a traditional manner, which by the way is not real anymore, but anyway, if people are predetermined to do that, they are typically going to have a negative outlook on somebody that is wanting to chase a dream that doesn't look possible. And anytime you're doing something that's bigger than you can fully see the path, right, what you want to do is associate and spend time with people that are going to encourage that are not going to shape your dream based on their experience. They're going to shape their feedback, if you will, in your dream based on what they believe in you and you can accomplish. And it's very, very important in terms of who you spend time. In terms of working through some of the barriers personally, I don't know if you guys can take a gander, but in the technology space, CEOs, not a lot of them look like me. I had to get used to and comfortable being in crowds of 500, 1,000. Think about this. In my line of work in the technology space, selling enterprise application, in 15 years as an executive, in 25 years total, I never sold to anyone that looked like me. So I could do one of two things. I could determine that I would have a chip on my shoulder and have an attitude of, I don't know, lack, an attitude of discrimination, an attitude that was negative, or I could say, what difference does it make? I've got bills to pay, kids to feed, goals to reach. And by winning, I could open the door better for others. I decided to figure out how to win. So as I get into the meat of what I will discuss with you all, first thing I want to do is number one, I'm not sure exactly where Dean Norris is, but I'm so thankful for the opportunity to spend time, and I appreciate the confidence in sharing with your folks. And Eric Slinker, right? Somebody said the Slinkster, right? I think it was my man right here. right. But Eric, thank you so much for having me come back again. And where's Bonnie? Bonnie Guy. And Bonnie, you know, I have a special thanks, right? Because not only has she been supportive of what we're doing and stayed in touch, but Bonnie introduced William Thompson, who runs our football franchise for us. And so when we came last year, it was a very seed of an idea of what we were going to do with the Navi Mumbai Sabres. And then William and I connected, and now he's not only helping our individual team, but also helping the league flourish and do some things there. So let me go ahead and jump in. What are some of the different investments and different things that we're a part of, and then how can they matter to you? Q Software is a technology company that is creating an automated way to produce mobile apps. Here's what's cool. They just got $3.1 million in funding. Their CEO is 21 years old. You can do whatever you dream you do. See, the reason I tell you that story is because as a computer science major at Syracuse University, right, Aiden decided that he wanted to do something spectacular. He wanted to revolutionize the way that mobile apps were developed. He wanted to create a way that non-technologists, that's why I like Aiden, like me, right, could build a mobile app. So that means whether you're an art major, whether you're a business major, whether you're a music major, he wanted to transform the digital environment so that anybody with a dream could participate. So when I was talking with Aiden, his dream became contagious to me. So what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? Are you doing something that's big enough, that serves a group that's large enough, that you can do something you feel has meaning, but then you can also make money from it? There's a lot of people that have ideas, but ideas implemented don't always mean income is generated. You have to have an idea that has commercial value, or you're in a nonprofit. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just cannot confuse the two. You just cannot confuse the two. O3 is a digital marketing firm that had 2 people 12 months ago. About $250,000 in revenue. This year, we're working with them. They've got 10 people approaching $1 million in revenue. Brian Honorio, NC State grad, young guy. Here's what Brian and I have learned together. The best idea wins. So as you're starting your business, one of the things you got to think about is, who do you want on your team? Do you want something where you're a solo performer? The best ideas always come from you? Or do you want to create something that attracts many others to your dream and vision so you can do something together and much bigger? That's what Brian decided to do. That's why we were able to synergize together and be a part of something that's special. Here's what's really neat. In the last 12 months, we've created 8 jobs in North Carolina. See, I mean, I'm totally excited about growing this into a $10 million business. That's what I see. Easy breezy. Been there, done that. I see similar ingredients to other things that I've done. But I know along the way, in order for us to be successful, we're helping other people in our environment make a car payment, mortgage, prepare for college. So being an entrepreneur means taking risks, and that's where I believe that true success comes in our economy, is by people taking risks and starting something new. Creative Allies is actually based in Asheville, North Carolina. We're going to move the headquarters, it looks like, to Durham, but we just formalized this investment a couple of weeks ago. And this one, my kids like. It gives me some swag, right? Because I know you guys have heard of Selena Gomez, right? Eazy-E, Dr. Dre. Some of you guys that like rap music, maybe K-Camp. Some of you guys, maybe Jefferson Airplane. Maybe some in here have heard of the Beach Boys, right? Maybe, and I still got to get it right, maybe there's some George Clinton fans, P-Funk. So what Creative Allies does is creates a digital platform where designers on a global basis can enter contests to do design work for some of the largest brands in the world in the entertainment business. And so we won't announce it formally until January 1, but I'll be the CEO of this new company. From time to time, when you put a certain amount of money in, you need to help guide in a hands-on way. But we're very, very excited about what this company is going to be able to do. And again, my kids think it has some swag to it, and so we're going to have fun. We already talked about the Sabres. Chopticks is another one of the companies. Here's what's cool. These are former Duke football players that started this business. Right? I love for people to have the stereotype, the dumb jock. Right? These guys were invited to a Google Entrepreneur Week and just got back from Silicon Valley. Right? Going through a week of effort in terms of how to really scale their business. The reason I'm telling you about these things, ICI Digital, a friend of mine, Greg Boone, runs that company. It was a spin out for another company that we worked with. They've grown from 5 people about 3 or 4 years ago to now they've got over 100 people, over $10 million in revenue, and they're doing phenomenal. Now, what do all those things mean? It means that there's some simple things that we've learned to break down those barriers. Number one, you got to determine if you're going to take mentorship over money. In many cases, you can get both, but here's the reality. Many people in this room that are looking at their career for the first time, you're not going to, all of you, leave school and start a business from day one. Most times, you're going to start out in a job, but you're going to have entrepreneurial dreams and goals. So then what kind of job are you looking for? What kind of company is going to give you that education and economic benefit, right, so that you can be highly successful? Here's my advice to you. Choose a manager, not a job or a company. Certainly you want a viable business and all those different things, but you want to make sure you're interviewing your manager and your management team as much as possible, because why go to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week for someone that's not going to teach you how to be great? In my case, I was totally blessed. In 1996, March the 6th, Grant Willard hired me, employee number 7, company called iCubed. I was down for dollars as a sales rep. The reason that I chose iCubed over anything else that I was offered is Grant committed to teach me the software business. So I took $10,000 less in base salary because I believed and hoped that he was telling the truth. We worked together 10 years. When he flipped part of the business and sold it to Adobe Systems, he allowed myself and a handful of partners to do a private buyout of the remaining part of the business. We grew that firm from 16 people to 130 people and flipped it to a global corporation in India. But I never would have had that opportunity if I chose the $10,000 more in base salary and not somebody that was going to give mentorship over money. Eventually, the money will come. The knowledge is what you've got to fight very, very hard for in the beginning, so that your steps are ordered with wisdom. Your steps are ordered with mistakes of others, not your own. And sometimes, it far outweighs anything you could ever earn. That one little nugget of knowledge, right, that can really change the game for you. But you have to be a seeker. Monetize your idea. I alluded to it a little bit different. And anybody in here watch Shark Tank? I love that show, right? My favorite's Mr. Wonderful. Right? Because when everything's said and done, he said, guys, I'm here to make money. If I don't believe you can make money, you're dead to me. And that might sound however it sounds, but it's true. And most people have great ideas. Most people can start to build a product or a service, but if you don't learn how to make a profit, then your existence is always going to teeter on failure. But once you learn how to make a profit, even $1, you can learn how to make $1,000. When you make $1,000 in profit, you can know how to make $10,000 because you start to duplicate those principles that you learned. And I think that mindset is very, very important. The other thing is to have a marketing plan versus a pure business plan. Business plans, to me, I don't actually read them. This could make me wrong. I really could be getting in trouble with Dino. I don't actually read them. And I make a reasonable amount of investments. Why? Because they're a wish on the stars. And they all fall down when you actually start the business. I think a marketing plan, one, to understand how you're going to acquire your customers, getting feedback with those customers, and having a business outline that's 2 to 3 pages, and get started. And then after you've been in business for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, what you will find is you now have enough information, enough mistakes, that you can write a business plan that makes sense against real world scrutiny. And again, this is just from me to you in terms of what I've seen and what I would share. Building the right team. You know, one of, it doesn't matter which one, but one of the investments that I've worked with over the last year, tremendous idea. Got a good amount of funding. 2 founders couldn't get along. You got to make sure you're in business with people you're compatible with. You got to make sure you build that team with people that you can fight with, but you don't take it as a personal issue amongst you. You really have to remove yourself from just the enthusiasm of the idea and being a part of a startup to the realization that you're entering a relationship with a group of people and understanding those dynamics. Because I've seen a lot of opportunities that could have been great stumble because of the interpersonal workings of the people involved. They looked good together on paper, but in reality, they just weren't a good fit. I'll skip to the last one. People skills always matters. And this is something that I'm continuing to learn. I will be very transparent. I'm writing a blog on this that is somewhat embarrassing because in order to be truthful and transparent, I have to share some of the things I did ridiculously wrong. The title of the blog is, Was It Something I Said? I'll give you a couple of examples. There's nothing you do here that I can't live without. That doesn't endear people to you. I remember asking a gentleman that was presenting something, I said, did you get an MBA? He said, yes, I did. You should give them their money back. Again, was it something I said? Yes, it was. What I realized is that being an athlete, being a sales guy, I was very, and still am, aggressive. But everybody doesn't want to learn or play at the intensity level that I had. And number 2, as a business leader, people don't truly listen or perform for you or with you until you're providing an environment where they can achieve their goals. I didn't understand what my responsibilities were as a leader to the individuals and to the bottom line. That was a very, very large lesson as a rookie CEO. I just didn't understand. I felt like because we were winning and growing, because we were profitable, because people were getting raises, that they would just be okay. When you're building a team, you want to keep a team. See, those are 2 different things. Building a team and keeping a team are 2 different things. When you look at your business, you can look and analyze in your courses and classes what the cost of retention is, what the cost of losing key employees is. So what you want to do is you want to build the capabilities for the short term, but you want to build the culture that can withstand the long term. And these are some of the things that I had to learn because as an ex-athlete, I was different to a different type of language. I was not talked to in a business setting always nicely, right? And it doesn't directly translate into the corporate environment. But by the way, the gentleman that I said that about his MBA, he worked with me for over 6 years. Now, here's why. When you're winning, people give you a chance to grow. So if you have that high-octane, aggressive personality, you better bring the results for your team. They better make more money every year that they're with you, and they'll give you a chance to change and be better. My advice is do both. It is learn that people matter earlier and not have to go through some of the pain that I did to learn that and to become better through the process. Remember where you started and why you started. As an entrepreneur, and I go through this all the time, you're going to have some tough days. It's not always going to be fun. I mean, like when you look at the founders of Google and the founders of Facebook and people that have made $1 gazillion doing what they're doing, I mean, it's all great, it's all rosy, and it just looks like, man, fantastic. Let's go do that. But the reality is you're going to have days of doubt, right? You're going to have days where it doesn't look like you made the right decision, right? And you've got to remember why you're doing what you're doing to push through those moments of despair, to push through those tough times. Here's what I specifically recommend that you do. You need to write down what you want and why. Not 13 pages worth of goals and aspirations, but the top 5 things of why you want to start a business and why that business can be impactful in your environment. And in doing that and reading that and keeping that close to your mind and your heart, you're going to be able to persevere and push through when you have those tough times. They will come, but they will teach you and strengthen you for the good times that are your destiny. Money. A lot of ways you can start a business. My goal and my advice to you is you want to chase smart money. So I'll give an example of a recent investment. I won't go into the detail of it, but before I put money into this investment that I'd worked very hard for, that I don't want to lose, right? I wanted to know the other investors that were a part of it. If you are following a group that is doing their own due diligence, solid people, people that have built, sold companies, built teams, what you get is a stronger foundation of expectation and excellence for the entrepreneur because the investment team is good. If you are looking for angel investors, maybe you need $50,000, $100,000. Here's what I recommend very strongly. Don't take money from people that don't have skills you need to grow the business. And I know that may be hard, but it is a strong recommendation. Do not take money from people that don't have skills you need. If you take money, investment from people that have skills you need, they're going to naturally provide you those skills in addition to the money. There's no investor that I know that puts $50,000 into something, $100,000 into something, $1 million into something, and not paying attention to the success, growth, and progress of that team. And if you get 4 or 5 people that put $50,000 each that have skills you need, here's what you've done. You've created a wonderful board of advisors and you've gotten seed money, which is so much more powerful and impactful than just people that can write you a check. I think that's crucially important for your business to be successful. Venture capital, don't know much about it. Anytime I've ever talked to folks in this space, this is just me personally, they want too much for what they're bringing to the table. Now, that doesn't mean your idea. I'm sharing with you that I would rather bootstrap it. I would rather take from people that want to work with me and grow, and then if I do need venture capital at some point, I want a business that's big enough and strong enough that I can have a grown-up conversation about money, which means they want to put their money with me more than I need it. And then that's a reasonable conversation, right? And again, I'm sharing with you opinions and thoughts and perspective. This really slide is the story of my life. Over the last 20, 25 years in business and growing, it's a personal journey of learning. And people that I meet, people that I work with, all the guys that are and gals that are CEOs of companies that I work with, I learn a bunch from them as well. We help each other. I'll give a pretty cool example. So Greg Boone, who runs ICI Digital, Brian, who runs O3 Creative, they're both computer science guys under the cover. So they have computer science, but they also are business guys. Well, I was vetting technology for a recent opportunity, and I'm not a coder. But these guys walked line by line with the CTO of this new company, and they said, Don, this guy's pretty good. So when you build relationships, success principles with people that are on your team, your personal team, your extended team, they can follow and fill in your gaps. And that's very, very important. One is to know what those are. 2, to find a group of people willing to help you fill them. Competitive advantage in terms of your business specifically, and I'll leave this with you. If we have questions, we can go more in depth. First best only. This is how you can help vet your idea. Are you first to market? Right? There's a lot of different ways, right, that people make ice cream. But if you were the first person with ice cream, you would have a competitive advantage. because it's a cool product. Now if you have ice cream, and wonder I keep talking about food, my friend William Thompson took me to Peppers last night. We had catfish. And then we went to Espresso's today, and we had these unbelievably huge muffins, right, with cream cheese in the middle of the muffins. You got to eat the whole thing to get to the cream cheese. And so I like food. So anyway, ice cream. But if we were to produce ice cream now, then it needs to be the best. Or it has to have some type of ingredient or flavor that it is now the only type in a certain niche, because we can't be first. When you're thinking about your business, think about first, best, and only, so that you can understand your positioning. You can understand the real strength of your idea. You can understand the difference between going to market alone or partnering. You can understand the difference between having a feature or a product. A lot of times people have great ideas, but they're a feature that should be partnered with another big idea. But this phrase has really helped me a lot. The last thing I'll talk about is time, and then we'll answer some questions, and then I'll be done. It's the only resource that you have complete control over, and you got to spend it wisely. Your time management, I've always had a challenge with that phrase, because there's so many different barriers to your managing your time. You have professors that'll assign you work. If you're an employee, you have a boss. If you're a husband, you have a wife, you have kids, different things that are all pulling for your time. So managing it is very, very difficult. But what I encourage people to do is learn how to make time choices. Time choices comes from an extension of your priorities. And if you know your top 1, 2, and 3 priorities, it is much easier to manage your time. I knew that I did not want to work for someone else for the next 25 years of my life. So while I was an employee, I did things in my spare time that weren't golfing, that weren't hanging out at clubs, that were not going on trips with my buddies, that were building something for my long-term future, so that when I was over 40, I had choices. But it wasn't difficult for me to put down the golf clubs, because what I wanted was so much greater than that. It was so much bigger than that. If you have a dream for your future that's large enough, it is simply a matter of incorporating the things you must do now, things that you can do next, and things that you never need to do. And when you balance those things together, it helps you manage your time. I wrote an ebook that you guys can get and download for free from my website, donaldthompson.com, on time choices. And I refer to it personally because I think it's something that you always have to continue to learn and look through, is how you spend and manage those time choices. Here's my contact information. I'd love to hear from you guys and get to know you. I'm happy to answer questions today, but also on Twitter and different things as I get more accustomed to using social media. The last thing that I'll tell you is we hear a lot about work-life balance. You guys heard that phrase? In my opinion, it's not an entrepreneurial phrase. You've got to decide when you're going to pay your full price. And that requires late nights, extra hours, and figuring out how to overcome challenges. It doesn't have to be your whole life. What I said was you have to figure out when you're going to pay that compressed price. Running a company does not always fit into a predetermined cool schedule. A full-time job can. There's a lot of great companies that give you that. But owning a business means doing what's required when it's required, no questions asked, and just getting it done. Because here's a beautiful thing when you're an entrepreneur and you have 1 employee, 2 employee, 10, or 100. Something called payroll. And employees expect it. On time. Right? Oh, yeah, I'll get to that. No. Now. Right? On the 30th or on the 15th. And so when you start to have that kind of responsibility, you really have to dial into the commitment to keep those promises. As you grow and mature in your business and learn how to delegate and build teams, you can build out the life that you want. But you just got to be willing to pay those commitments during certain periods of time to get things off the ground, to get them running, to get the credibility that you need. I'm going to open it up for questions, and then we'll wind it down. And hopefully I was okay on time. So I appreciate you guys sharing. And are there any questions that we can address and talk through?